Hey, it's Mark with Mark's House of Cars, and we are going to talk about the seller on this Defender 110 I bought, which was just completely misrepresented on Bring a Trailer, has tons of issues, and the seller basically is not going to do anything and says it's fine. So we'll recap a little bit of how this happened, how it worked from Bring a Trailer, and then mistakes I made. I was not perfect in this by any means. And then what we'll do now, I talked to the mechanic who did a bunch of the work on it, and we'll talk about what he said too, and how the seller has responded throughout all of this. So this was supposed to be a really exciting day when I got my LS3 swapped Defender 110 that I thought was pretty much completely rebuilt, ready to go, came off the truck after some shipping delays and issues. But I got it. And you can see the first thing I saw was rust underneath it that was not disclosed, not pictured. And he sent pictures of all over the truck, just not the pictures of the things wrong with it because he hid those completely. One thing the seller really relied on too was $88,000 in receipts for recent work done. And I talked to the shop. We'll talk about that and show those here. But here's the LS3 swap that was done with a 6-speed auto transmission. I've taken this vehicle to two mechanics. They say the swap was actually done pretty good. They didn't see any issues with it. Seems to be running okay. Although the seller said the engine was completely rebuilt, and the person who did the swap said they didn't rebuild it. It looked clean and nice to them, but they did not rebuild it. So I imagine it was not rebuilt. I think it just came out of like a Camaro is what I think we figured out. So, again, more misrepresentation. The mechanic did put a cam in it. He said the seller wanted an aggressive cam, so it sounds pretty mean. It runs really good. You just can't steer or stop it, so you don't ever want to run it really good. And that was the first thing I noticed when I first drove it. It pulls like crazy to the left and right at random times. The brakes are awful, barely stop it, just banging and bouncing like crazy. Because the shocks are completely shot. So what I found once we went through everything, it's supposed to be repainted, the interior completely redone, interior panels falling off, scratches and chips in the paint all over, rust underneath. The roll cage, which was advertised as a roll cage, is not connected underneath, so it's not really a roll cage. The back windows won't roll down, the passenger door won't open. The gauges that he confirmed worked on Bring a Trailer don't work. The back seats don't lock in place. The front seats are wrong, which isn't a huge deal, but it should have Defender seats to get to the battery. The seat belts don't work. The seat belts in the back are broken, and he hid those. He tucked those in the seat in pictures. The front ones are too short. Nobody could actually use them. The tires are on the wrong direction, which isn't a big deal, but obviously adds to the horrible steering. All the steering components are shot. All the shocks are shot. The axles are shot and need rebuilt or replaced. We think he took Discovery axles and put it in it instead of Defender axles. Discovery axles are weaker. The brakes has new braided brake lines that are too short and kink up, which completely loses all braking power. There's no hood prop. You have to hold that up. You have to slam it, which cracks and messes up the paint too. I'm sure there's many other things we don't see and don't know for sure, but there's a lot. And when the seller advertised this on Bring a Trailer, he mentioned nothing wrong with it. People asked him about gauges. He said they all work. They asked him about driving. He said it drives great. Over and over again, he just said it was a great vehicle, no problems, no issues. So those are all pretty much lies. And I've talked to the seller numerous times through email, so I have it all in writing. Asked him about these things, and he basically just says, oh, you got a good deal. You got a good price. I paid $96,000 for it. He said it's a $150,000 truck all day, so I got a good deal, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, you intentionally hid these things. And he just claims if I want upgrades, I should pay for upgrades, but the truck's in great condition. And I asked him about brakes, and he said, oh, they work perfect for me. There are no issues. I asked him about a number of different things, and he just claims nothing was wrong. It was all fine. And basically I'm complaining about nothing. So I talked to the mechanic, which is very interesting because he had some really interesting things to say about this vehicle and about the seller. So here are those receipts And I thought it's weird. The LS Swap shop was listed, then another shop was listed. One says invoice, one says quote. I talked to the LS Swap shop. They said that was their fault. They have another company that kind of does invoices for them because they don't have them very often. And he said that this invoice was correct. So this invoice lists $88,000 in repairs. And I talked to the guy. He was super nice. He answered the phone and said, yep, that's how much work we had into it, but the seller did not pay that. And I specifically asked the seller in email, hey, did you really spend $88,000 on this truck? He said, yes. I'm like, you paid that much? He said, yes. I asked him to send the receipt, and he wouldn't do it. And this guy at the LS Swap shop said, well, he didn't pay that much because he was crying and whining about the bill and all this stuff. So we took a lot less than we were owed, but he wouldn't tell me how much. So he definitely did not pay $88,000. And it seemed that's a whole lot of work just for pretty much the motor swap. But the LS Swap shop also said they noticed so many things wrong with this vehicle: shocks, brakes, steering, axles. He said he thought it had Discovery axles too. The wipers don't work, which I didn't know until they told me. Other issues as well. And he said they started trying to work on some of those and sort it out. And basically the seller told them, no, don't work on that stuff. I've got someone else to do it. The shop said they realized he wasn't going to pay them for anything extra too, so they stopped working on the other stuff. But he said he advised him it wasn't safe to drive. The shocks were shot. The brakes were bad. Steering, all of that. Then he said the seller, who he described as the same person who I talked to, said, don't worry, someone else will fix those things. You guys don't need to do it. Obviously, those things were never fixed. Obviously, the seller knew about them. Obviously, he did not disclose them. And this mechanic, my mechanics, all kind of confirm that, which is pretty annoying, obviously, and, you know, fraud-like, obviously. So I gave the seller a chance to make it right. I told him what kind of following I have, because not only do I have my car stuff, I've got my real estate stuff with 700,000 followers or something on all my channels. And he didn't care. He just stuck to his line of, I got a good deal, and he spent more money on the truck than he sold it for, so I should stop complaining and just, if I want to do upgrades, I can. That was his line over and over again. So he's not going to do anything. I talked to Bring a Trailer. Bring a Trailer reached out to me after they saw some of my comments on the listing. They said they will try and talk to the seller and see if they can help, but that's about it. They don't have any really repercussion or anything they can do. They can just try and convince him, hey, if you want to sell and Bring a Trailer again, you know, you might want to do something about this. But I haven't heard anything since that. It's been a little while. So they did reach out. They did try to help a little bit. But again, I don't know if anything will happen on that side of it or not. So after talking with the seller, talking with the mechanic, trying to make things somewhat, you know, figure out if he would help at all, and he said no, I decided to make this video and talk about what happened, what he did, everything there. Now, who is the seller? So here's a listing on Bring a Trailer and the vehicle, and you can see all the things they listed. You can see all their pictures. And there was not holes, but indents in the leather, definitely damage to the leather, just because I think stuff and parts have been sitting on it for years. Damage to the paint and vehicle because it's just been sitting there for years after all this work was done. The invoices, the videos. So again, I made some mistakes here because I missed some things. I could have gone out there and checked it out, but I'm in Colorado. He was in New York or New Jersey. With an auction, it's tricky because I don't want to go to every auction. I've been looking at a few different auctions. You don't know what price it's going to sell for. So yes, I could have done better, but I was expecting some issues with it. I was expecting some things to not be perfect. I just wasn't expecting him to hide so many different things. And so there's no secret who the person is, because if we scroll down here, all past the bids and different stuff, and you know, I wasn't the only one bidding on it, so I'm not the only idiot out there. Bruno Fida, seller. That's him. It doesn't hide it at all. And after I bought it, he told me the story of this vehicle and where it came from and what happened, which would have been nice to know beforehand, but he basically, I think he's from Albania, and he bought this vehicle in Europe had it fixed and repaired in Albania as far as the body and interior and stuff like that. Then he shipped it to the US, had it imported. Then he had the LS3 put in it in the US. And he was very honest, said, yeah, it's way cheaper to do stuff in Albania. I don't know what the quality is like based on this vehicle, but he claimed he had more into it than what he sold it for, which he might have. And maybe he just made an awful investment and bad choices and had the wrong people doing work and didn't understand what it was going to take. But again, I've screwed up in business before. I've made mistakes. When I make mistakes, the way to fix those mistakes is not to lie about it and try and push those mistakes onto somebody else. It's to take ownership of it and bite the bullet, which he obviously did not do. So you can see him, and he has a shipping company, Alba Shipping Company, LLC, in Hillside, New York. And you can see we left a very nice review for him just now. It is very in-depth and very long, because I was going to have him ship this vehicle as well, but he wouldn't get back to me with a quote or anything, so I used my own shipping company. And you can see some other people have some very nice reviews for him too. So it is not just me. I don't know how this is at 3.7 stars with all of these recent reviews, but anyway, not amazing as far as his reviews go. He has some other like, I don't know if he's selling cars, because he has an Instagram page, Alba Shipping, where he listed a bunch of cars he was selling in 2021, but then that was it. So it almost looks like that's my picture. Yeah, he does this quite a bit. I asked him how many cars he sells, because he's not listed as a dealer, which would bring in much more liability, have much more ability to go after him or sue him if I wanted to. But he wouldn't respond if he's a dealer or not. He wouldn't tell me how many vehicles he sells a year. He wouldn't answer any of those questions, which I don't blame him for, because I'm sure he knew I was trying to get as much information out of him as possible to try and possibly go after him later. I wonder if he'll put my testimonial on here. Probably not. Established in 2006. Honest and integrity, of course, that's the first one. 100% accuracy. So, shipping boats, cars, tractor. Ooh, bunch of tires. Whew, I've had my share of tire issues with my real estate, so that brings back kind of some bad memories. So there you go. That is his company. That is his business. Not sure where to go from this route. Not sure exactly. I doubt he's going to do anything. I don't know if it's worth doing anything against him or not. Oh, just let me look at his page. This is at Instagram. So I don't know what that is. That's the story. That's the guy. I have it at my mechanic now. I plan to do some upgrades to it, and we'll of course have that on here. We'll talk about what I'm doing. I think it needs a big brake kit. I think it needs new axles. I think it obviously needs the steering redone, needs new shocks. I might put different wheels and tires on it, and then get it running safely and driving. And then maybe we'll think about doing some interior work and different stuff there. At some point we might have to do some paint work. We want to get the roll cage so it's an actual real roll cage and not just a giant cage bolted to sheet metal and that's it. There's a lot to do, but hopefully we can get it sorted. Hopefully we can have a nice truck when we're done. And it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst situation ever. But I also don't appreciate being lied to and being, misrepresented as what I bought. I don't want this to happen to other people either. So hopefully Bring a Trailer, I don't know, I mean, he could always show up as someone else, I guess, but I guess I'll keep an eye out. He said he was working on a Defender 90, doing kind of the same thing, a soft top. So I guess we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. If it pops up on Bring a Trailer, and if it does, let people know what kind of seller this is, or if he tries to sell it somewhere else. I don't know. We'll see how that all goes. But I don't like when people act like this, and hopefully we can help him screwing over some other people maybe by showing who he is. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and we'll have more updates on this vehicle and my other vehicles as well. The Countach is also waiting on a new ignition, and we have old cars, they break. So that's just part of life.
So it sounds okay. It has some power, but it smokes, the motor smokes, it shifts awful. The shifting, it rattles, like everything rattles. If you're going about 40, it's just bouncing around and rattling like crazy. I can't see in my mirror because it's bouncing around so much. Pretty amazing vehicle, yeah. I'm stomping on the brakes. I'm just stomping on the brakes, and it barely will stop. So I can't even get on it and show people what it will actually do, because I'm afraid I'm just going to run into some cars ahead of me if they stop fast or do anything. So we'll try and get it up close to 40 on this road up here. Oh, that almost died right there. There we go, blooper. My phone fell off. I feel so weird not wearing a seatbelt. I just wear a seatbelt all the time, and it just feels like something's awfully wrong. Well, I do have air conditioning on. I don't know. That does actually work. Oh, the brakes are getting worse. I mean, we were just going like 2 and I can barely stop it. I'm not doing this to be dramatic. This is literally, I'm going 35, and I don't want to go any faster. It's just all over. Like, I drove 10 miles into work today, and that was the scariest drive of my life. I mean, I've driven over Trail Ridge Road with 10 feet of visibility in the fog before in my 91 Mustang 5.0. That wasn't as scary as driving this thing on regular roads.